What's going on, guys? Anthony from Chronometer Check here, and today I'm going to show you guys how to size the folded link bracelet like the one you get on the Seiko 5. So a couple of tools you're going to need to get started. You're going to need, first of all, a push pin tool. Now we have over here the Bergeon, a 6767. This is my push pin tool of choice. It also you can use it to change straps, but the same thing can be had in a cheap watchmaker toolkit. I'll put the link to both of these in the description below. I actually don't even know where my cheap spring bar tool is anymore, just because this is all I've been using, but really it's the same exact thing. This is just more of a little bit of a comfort thing. You're also going to need a screwdriver. Now this is a really small screwdriver. I'll write down the size in the description below. Make sure it's a screwdriver that you're not too worried about destroying, because these folded link bracelets, as good as the watch is, they're very difficult to size, and puts a lot of wear and tear on the screwdriver. So just use whatever disposable screwdriver, cheap little Chinese one from Amazon, eBay, it doesn't matter, as long as it gets the job done. And this is another piece from a cheap watchmaker toolkit. So if you just get one of those cheap watchmaker toolkits, you'll have everything you need really to get started, except for a pair of pliers, obviously. You could also use tweezers, which sometimes come in the toolkit as well. But the reason I like this hammer as opposed to just a regular hammer is because it actually has this plastic edge, so that makes it really, it's safe. You're not going to damage or scratch your watch. So let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is actually take apart the clasp on the back of the watch. And you may want to lay the watch down on a piece of microfiber cloth or whatever, just so you don't scratch the crystal of this watch. It does have a mineral crystal, so not the most scratch resistant, but it's not the end of the world. It's not that big of a deal. Just make sure you're not doing it on too rough of a surface. So what we're going to do is first take our spring bar tool. Again, like I said earlier, you could use the cheap one. It's literally the same thing. So we're going to pop open this deploying clasp. And what we're going to do is find over here at the micro adjustments, we're going to find where it's attached. And what we're going to do is take our little spring bar tool. We're going to push it in. And we're going to start to pull the bracelet out as we're pushing this in. Now, be careful that it doesn't go flying, as it just did. Sometimes that'll happen, and sometimes it'll get a little bit stuck. It'll be out part of the way, and then you'll need to flip it over and then kind of do the same thing from the other side. Luckily, this came out in one go, so we're all set here. So now that we open up the watch, we have a lot easier access to the bracelet links, and we have less risk of damaging it. So hopefully you decided how many links you need to remove. It's a little bit of a guessing game. It's going to take a little bit of trial and error to get just the right fit. Luckily, these Seiko 5s do have a couple of micro adjustments. It does have 6, so you have a little bit of room to work with. That's like 3 extra links you could kind of change the size of. So yeah, so we're going to take off this links and let's see how it goes. So now you're going to take your screwdriver that I said is basically disposable, because it's probably going to get damaged in the process. It has to be small enough to fit inside in between these links. Now you will notice, if you look really close, it does have an arrow. My camera's not doing the best job focusing right now, but it has an arrow showing which way you want to pull the pin out. So the arrow over here is facing to the left. That means we're going to push the pin over here and slide it out to the left. And then when we go to put the pin back in, we're actually going to reverse the process and put it in the other way. But on the way out, just follow exactly as it says. Okay, so here comes the hard part. So I like to hold it down with 2 fingers and try to slide it. This is going to take a little bit of work and effort. You want to get it so the screwdriver is like digging right next to where that little piece, that little raised bump on the link insert is. And it's a little bit difficult. It's going to take a couple of tries and a lot of force. Okay, so 10 minutes later, or however long it takes you to get this dang tricky pin out, you can use a set of pliers when it's a little bit out, and you could just pull it out the rest of the way. And then once you get to a certain point, obviously you could just do it by your hand, but it helps to have the pliers to just yank it out. Now you want to try to preserve this, so try not to get a little too crazy. I know it's easy to get frustrated and want to bend it and stuff like that, but try to hold on to this because you're going to need it when resizing the bracelet. Okay, so now we're going to need to count the number of links that we want to remove, and then do it for that one too, so we can remove all the links in between them. So I'm going to be removing 2 links, so I'm going to count to the 3rd one and remove this one right here so that I can close the gap between those. So just to show you how to do it again, you're going to take your screwdriver, you want to put it in that little gap between the pin and the bracelet, and you want to kind of leverage it out. A lot easier said than done. There we go. So you really want to get it so that this little round piece, it gets past the end of the link, and then it's a lot easier to remove from there. Then you can just remove it with your fingers or with the pliers, like I said. All right, now those pins have been removed. You could actually just remove the ones in between just by loosening it and sliding it out. Then when you go to put it back together, you just clip it back on exactly the opposite. You just reverse the process. And now we put it together. Now, hopefully you didn't go too crazy and damage the pins in the process, but we're going to need them. So you're going to push it together and then just reverse the process. Make sure the little circle round thingy is facing up. And with the side that we pushed it out from, we're actually going to slide it back in that same side. Now, I'm just going to do both of them at once. Oops, that's not good. Okay, so we're going to slide them both back in. Now, this is where the hammer comes into play to slide it back in. Now, you could use one of these little, I don't know, watch resty thingies. I don't really know what they're called. You just put it like by the gap, and you just kind of use the plastic side of the mallet, and you just hammer it in. If you don't have a mallet, by the way, you could just do it against the table. That's exactly what I did here. And yeah, so now that we have that done, we're just going to throw it back on the micro adjustment clasp, and then you're good to go. Okay, and after putting the spring bar back in the micro adjustment, you always want to give it a little tug and a pull just so to make sure it doesn't fly out, because you'd rather have that happen now than when it's on your wrist. So yeah, now that it's done, we are going to throw that bad boy on. That's it. You have yourself a perfectly sized Seiko 5 or whatever watch bracelet you have with a folded links, and yeah, you're good to go. It looks great. So yeah, guys, definitely not the easiest process. That's kind of one of the things about these Seiko 5s. The watches are great. Some people say they're like a $300 watch on a $3 bracelet, and I completely agree with that. And the sizing experience is pretty much on par. It kind of feels like a $3 bracelet. It sizes like a $3 bracelet. I will admit it does have a little bit of a charm, and it's super, jingly and jangly, but something about it, I kind of like it anyway, even though it's so cheap and honestly pretty terrible. But yeah, so I will actually have a review on this watch. Funny story, I did buy this watch three times actually. I bought a vintage model as well. But anyway, yeah, so I'll make another video about that and kind of a full review. This is literally one of my favorite Seiko 5 models. Look at that. Ooh, baby. All right. Thanks for watching. Full review and guide on the blog, chronometercheck.com. Peace.